Welcome everybody, this is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, a weekly community call happening every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time. Today is February 27th. It is the last Tuesday call in February, so we're heading already March next week, which is really, really cool. Now today we'll do a typical set of the latest updates from Microsoft and recapping all of the awesome assets which are available for you to get started in the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform areas. There's a lot of stuff which is free for you to get for you to use within your day-to-day work. We'll do a group picture together into together mode for those who are willing to enable their camera, and then we go to the actual stars of the day, who will be Ayça Baş, Marc Windle, and Paolo Pialorsi. A typical set of actually topics because we're actually having quite a few series going on within these areas. So we have the series related on Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365. So Ayça Baş is going to talk about that one. Marc Windle is going to continue his series around SharePoint Embedded, what it is and how does it work. Especially this time, we're talking about the file previews and content discovery within the SharePoint Embedded. And then Paolo is going to talk about creating a custom Copilot, which Copilot Studio based on your files within the SharePoint. So that's part of the series as well. So we started by showcasing what do you need to do to enable the Copilot Studio within your tenant. That video is also available within the previous weeks. And now we continue that storyline over there. More other obviously topics within upcoming weeks as well. Now, if you're looking into getting started within Microsoft 365 for Power Platform, we have a lot of assets for you to get started. First of all of our community call recordings are available at Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community video channel. Subscribe there today. We get every single week and every single call we get questions on, okay, can I get access on the recording? I can't access the recording, which is in the chat, and you cannot access the recording in the chat. That's why we are publishing the recordings in that YouTube channel always within 24 hours. So please subscribe, you know exactly when the videos are going live. We have our LinkedIn crew for discussions and updates. That's one way of following up on and sharing your findings with other people in a community. We have a lot of open source assets, but it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you from the hundreds of samples which are available. We have the sample galleries making that easier. And then we have the one place location for you to get started on anything within the community, which is AKMS community home, all of the URLs, everything else mentioned over there. So you can easily follow up on what's happening. Now, we do have a lot of community calls which are happening every single week. So typically we have a minimum 2 community calls every single week. That's the Tuesday call and the Thursday call. Tuesday call is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform weekly with Microsoft speakers with certain exceptions. And then we have the Power Platform monthly call happening once a month on Wednesday. Office add-ins monthly call happening once a month on one Wednesday. I think the Power Platform is third Wednesday every single month, and then the Office add-ins is the second Wednesday every single month. And then we have our 7 a.m. Thursday series, which is either Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call with community demos, and then the Viva Connection and SharePoint Framework community call. All of the call recurrent invites for the calls can be downloaded from AKMS community calls URL. And a really cool thing is also the meetup. So the meetup is a great service to catch up on what's the agenda for upcoming calls. And that's in AKMS/community/meetup. Roughly a week before the call, we are always publishing the agenda. So you can stay up to date on what's coming within the next week. So you can schedule your agendas based on that. Now, for a lot of those calls, we are welcoming community to present, and this is a great way for you to get exposure. So if you're looking into getting an MVP status, or if you want to practice presentation skills, we will help you on this journey. So you can easily sign up at AKMS Community Request Demo, and we will then contact you, have a discussion on what the demo is all about, and get you scheduled within one of the upcoming calls. Great opportunity to showcase what you learn from out-of-the-box features, what you built with out-of-the-box features, or extended as a builder, maker, developer, or maybe you found out that, hey, this Copilot Studio, if I use these kind of prompts, I can do cool results. Let me do a demo about that one. Yes, those are absolutely welcome as well. So please sign up using the form, and we will contact you and get you scheduled on the upcoming calls. Now, we do have a lot of assets to get started on the Microsoft Cloud. So the Microsoft 365 Developer Program, there has been some adjustments in here. It is right now easily available for anybody who has a Visual Studio subscription. There are some adjustments coming up on the availability of this program, but you can go to AKMS M365 Dev Programs and to get the latest on that one. We also have a lot of free learning material available at Microsoft Learn, at AKMS M365 Dev Learn, or AKMS Power Platform Learn. So there's a lot of modules which are free for you to take advantage. Now, we also have our Microsoft 365 PMP Weekly Show, which is happening on a weekly basis by yours truly and Waldek Mastercards. And then we have the bi-weekly show with Caruana and Heather Cook, which is Mondays at Microsoft. Really great show as well, catching up on everything what's happening within the Microsoft side bi-weekly in a live show within LinkedIn and in YouTube. And then we have the Microsoft 365 Developer Podcast, which has been a bit silent recently, but we're looking into that one kicking up as well sooner or later. We do have a lot of samples available. So we are, I think it's 1,866 was the count earlier today. So if you go to the AKMS community samples, you can find all of the different samples across Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. So great location to find the samples from Microsoft and from the community from one centralized location. So rather than going to Google or GitHub search and trying to find the relevant sample for you, we're trying to aggregate everything to this one centralized location to make your life easier. That's really the key objective here as well. And thank you, Hugo, for that call out in the chat. That reminded me, before we go there, I think our chat has, by the way, maxed out to attendance, and we need to clean our chat. So I do apologize anybody who is watching potentially this call live and you cannot see the chat. That's because we have maxed out the 1,000 attendees within the chat, which can happen with a recurrent call, and that's then causing this limitation. So we do apologize on that. Now, coming back on the samples, coming back on how do I get started on samples? How do I get started as a Power Platform user? I don't know what to do. Hugo, help me.
Well, folks, you have a lot of cool stuff that you want to share, but you think it's reserved for a specific group of people. You know, only these people that are in the gang get to contribute. Well, it's not true at all. And we understand that it is scary to get started. It is scary to share your first sample or to do your first community call demo. But we're here to help with the Sharing is Caring initiative. Sharing is Caring is a program where we set up some meetings where there are small groups. They're never recorded. And what we do is we actually do the thing that we're teaching you. We're doing it live. So for example, in your first time contributor session, you will do your first GitHub pull request. And at the end, you will have an accepted pull request. Now, again, the PNP team was on vacation, or the Sharing is Caring team, sorry, was on vacation. We're taking a well-deserved break. We are starting again these sessions. You can find out our schedule at aka.ms/sharing is caring, and we will be having office hours very, very soon once everybody is back in business. Now, once you have done your first contribution, and every contribution thereafter, every recognized contribution deserves a recognition badge. And so if you go to this URL here, aka.ms/community/recognition, and you associate your GitHub user ID with your email address, we will set you up on our recognition program, which is powered by Credly. You know, same Credly that used to show up in your certifications, your Microsoft certifications. So it's something that you can put on your LinkedIn, on your blog, on your profile. You can, put it on your fridge, but you'll get cool badges for your contributions. And you'll, at the very least, you will be a community contributor 2024, but there's all sorts of different badges that are available as well. So please sign up. Your work is super important to us, and we love what you do, and we want to make sure that you're recognized. Thank you, everyone, for your contributions, and back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you. Toronto, I want to say. Yes, I think it won. Thank you, Canada. Yes, Finland taking over. Anyway, so thank you for that one. A few recap on the events which are happening this spring. So we have the Microsoft 365 Community Conference coming up on April 13th, May 1st and 2nd. There are some pre-workshop days and post-workshop days as well. Great opportunity of staying up to date on the latest on the Microsoft AI capabilities, Microsoft 365 Copilot, Teams, Viva, SharePoint, OneDrive, all of that stuff covered it over there. Please check out the details and agenda at M365conf.com for all of the details. After that one, on May 14th to 16th, we have the European Collaboration Summit happening. So if you are in this side of the pond, on the European side of the pond, this might be more convenient for you. You can, of course, fly over in the Orlando as well. But this is happening in Wiesbaden, which is close to Frankfurt, and apparently Wiesbaden is closer than Frankfurt downtown. So it's actually, even though it's set Wiesbaden, it's a Frankfurt, and Frankfurt is the central hub in Europe, so a really easy location to get into. That's happening on the 14th to 16th May 2024. On top of that, we will have 3 different TechCon 365 conferences this year: Seattle, and DC, and Dallas. The first one is Seattle, happening on June 3rd to 7th. So great opportunity again on engaging in person within the conferences. And then on September 18th to 2024, at Las Vegas, we have the Microsoft Power Platform Conference at MGM, like last year as well. A great opportunity for partnering and seeing and hearing the latest around the Microsoft Power Platform. On top of these bigger events, there's also a lot of different smaller events happening all around the world. Some of these are in person, some of these are virtual, some of these have a cost, some of them are free. So a lot of opportunities for you to engage with other people in the community and networking, learning from each other, which is super critical thing. Just a simple example right now, this week or today in Christian's Church in New Zealand, there's a digital workplace conference happening, and then maybe let's say call out the M365 Community Days happening in New Jersey, in the US in April 6 to 7. So a lot of stuff across the world almost every single week, which is awesome to see. If you go to communitydays.org, you can stay up to date on what's happening. Now, quick recap on the news site. A few news from this week. I will actually be pasting all of the links in the chat. So a lot of stuff, news there, but not going to deep dive too much detailed on what's happening here. News across Microsoft Teams and Viva and SharePoint and development stuff and Power Platform again from this week. So a lot of interesting new capabilities which are available for you to take advantage. Now, what else is happening? And before we go to the actual stars of the day, let's do a quick group photo. If I can get to that slide. There we go. So we'll do a quick group photo. I can already see Together mode working, and Ayça is already visible. And there's Rachel and a lot of other people as well. So let me move the screen in here. So if you're willing to enable the camera, we'll grab a GIF animation out of this. I'm not going to enable my camera, just avoid any upstream issues because we're not pixelated. This is looking pretty decent. Let's wait 20 seconds still. So we have 50 seats in the room, and I will select the right screen which I'm recording, so I'm not accidentally recording one of the other screens. That's the fun of having way too many screens on our computer. So that's like 45 people, a few more people getting in, and I can see Gavin on the call as well. Really cool. You had a really nice pictures about the family trip and skiing. I can see Mark on the middle section. This is really cool. I guess it's time to take the picture. So I will put the recording on. 3, 2, 1. Let's do some hand waving, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of this. Cool to have you on a call. Excellent to see those smiling faces. And there we go. And I think we're maxed out on 50. This is really cool. Awesome. Excellent. We'll share that one in social media for sure. Thank you for that one. And moving that in here. Now, I do apologize for those who might not have got into the picture. I don't know how Teams actually selects who gets to be in the picture if there's more than 50 people who enable the camera. But as said, it's time then for the real stars of the day. Right on schedule, actually. We'll start with Ayça on the Copilot, extending Copilot for Microsoft 365. Then we could move to Marc, and then last but not least is Paolo talking about Copilot Studio stuff. But Ayça, I think you are good to go.
Awesome. Thanks, Vesa. Can you see my screen?
And the screen, yep, screen sharing has started. All good. Take it away.
Okay, sounds good. Hi, everyone. My name is Ayça Baş. I'm a cloud developer advocate at Microsoft. In today's session, we will talk about how we can extend Copilot with document search plugin, which is available in our plugin samples on GitHub. I'll show you how we can build that using Teams Toolkit and .NET. So If you're new to Copilot for Microsoft 365 Extensibility story, this session is actually a part of the series. If you go to the community YouTube channel, you will see that my colleagues Bob, Waldek, and Gary already did a couple of sessions diving into what is plugins, what is connectors, and they did a bunch of samples already in the previous sessions. This session specifically is going to be about the plugins, and I'll show you how you can bring your document search into Copilot extensibility, basically how you can bring your documents into Copilot with the power of Azure AI Search. And you can actually leverage Copilot's intelligence as well behind the scenes. So I just want to start with this very popular scenario in the custom ChatGPT, custom Copilot world. This is a scenario where we build our custom ChatGPT experience. We actually build the app UX, which can be a chat experience, and then we build our own app orchestrator. It can be any type of orchestrator you prefer, and then we are also responsible of integrating Azure OpenAI or any LLM you prefer. In this experience, you build your chat custom Copilot, and then you plug in your data sources and you also integrate with Azure AI Search. Benefit of integrating with Azure AI Search is you can actually bring multiple different data sources, and data source can be unstructured, structured, and it can be any type of data. It can be files, documents, images, videos, so on and so forth. So it can be very diverse set of data and multiple data sets. So in this sample today we're going to talk about, we're actually tapping into something really different. What if we replace this custom chat experience with Copilot for Microsoft 365, and the only thing you need to do is building your plugin and integrating your plugin with Azure AI Search so you can make search across your data sources available. This definitely gives us the benefit because we don't need to think about maintaining our own generative AI app, and we don't need to maintain the LLM model. So Copilot itself will be our UX for when it comes to LLM, and orchestrator we will be again using will be Copilot. And the only thing we will do is pretty much just tapping and building our own data sources, bringing our data sources into our message extension plugin using Azure AI Search. When we're using Azure AI Search here, we are actually enabling hybrid search for our search experience. And if you ask what is hybrid search is actually the combination of vector search and keyword search, semantic search. So if I need to give you a brief about hybrid search with Copilot for Microsoft 365, I just want to highlight that the advantage of vector search is finding information that's similar to your search query. Even if you don't use the accurate keyword, for example, complaint, customer feedback, then with vector search, our system understands that it is a feedback, it is a complaint. Also, we get the advantage of keyword text search, which is the benefit of using keyword search is precision. Every time we type the same keyword, every time we type the same text, we will get the exact same result. And with the semantic ranking, it improves the quality of the result for sure. Combination of these two worlds will definitely bring us strength of both of these worlds, and it can perform better together when we use both vector and keyword. So in this example, if I need to walk you through how this is going to work, we will use Copilot for Microsoft 365 as our chat app. And then we, let's say, have some data sources which has files inside. You can call this blob storage, table storage, Cosmos DB, SQL database, any type of data you can imagine. And we're going to create embeddings of our data using Azure OpenAI ADA model. And Azure AI Search already provides vector database, so you don't need to use any external or additional database for this. You can just use Azure OpenAI to create your embeddings of your data, and it will be stored inside, the indexing will be stored inside Azure AI Search. Once you create your data and once your data is available for searching experience, We will create embeddings for our query. So when user asks something, when user sends a prompt to our Copilot, we will convert this data to embeddings and then make hybrid search and then response in vector embeddings and return data, even if it's text, document, image, video, any type of data. So in this case, what we're doing is actually we are building a search experience where the data itself or the keyword itself is not very critical. We are using hybrid search because we want to get the relevant data. So we are getting data according to the similarity, not the keyword or the text itself. So let's think about a call center scenario. Let's think that we have Eco Groceries call center, and each call center conversation between client and agent are stored inside a blob storage as a PDF file or Word document, and we are actually storing those information as a text. So we have our call center client transcripts available as a document, and let's say that we created all these data on Azure using Azure AI Search. It's available in embedding format. When our user, and this user can be the agent manager or agent themselves, just someone asking more information about the data, the user can ask any customer complaints recently. So basically, user is looking for any data related to complaints. We will convert this data to embedding, and embedding format will be, it's nothing like text, it will be a number. And then we will make search in Azure AI Search, and we will retrieve related data from our blob storage. Then we will convert this data back to what it is actually the format, which is, in this case, it is PDF and text. So as you can see in the response says that I've been an Eco Grocery customer for years, but I've never had such a problem with an order before. So in this sentence, we don't actually have complaints as the word. But again, thanks to semantic and vector search working together, we understand the similarity between complaints and this sentence. So that makes this scenario very unique because in this case, we don't need to provide the exact wording. So Copilot can work with Azure AI Search and bring the related data, bring the similar data to our users. I want to jump into the demo and show you how actually this enterprise data coming from Azure AI Search works within our plugin and extend Copilot for Microsoft 365. So we have our samples available on GitHub. If you go to samples folder, you'll see on the top, the C# version of document search is available. And you will see some instructions here too. If you've never done this before, you can follow the setup instructions and you'll be able to create the same experience with the sample. I already cloned this and open Visual Studio. This sample is, by the way, available in JavaScript too. In this session, I will show the .NET version, but the same sample is available in JavaScript. So once we clone this and open in Visual Studio, you will see that we actually have a normal message extension. The most important two files are under search folder. The first one is search app. The second one is AI search. Let's start with search app. Here in a normal message extension, we actually make an API call. Instead, in the sample, we are making a semantic hybrid search function call with our query. So semantic hybrid search function handles the search index and create client and also generate embeddings for our query. To generate embeddings, we're using OpenAI client. And here, once we create the embeddings, we create search options with vectorized query, and then we use embeddings version of our query. And then after all is done, we will retrieve the response with title, content, URL, and file path. And we have a bunch of documents available for you. You don't need to create your own documents, or you don't need to create your own text if you just want to test this demo. I'll just quickly show you how you can index this data in Azure AI Search using OpenAI, Azure OpenAI Studio. This is not recommended for production, but this is a good way to test out at least the sample so that you can understand how the embedding search, how the vector semantic search works together behind the scenes. So let's jump into Azure. I'll go to the browser, open Azure OpenAI Studio, add a data source. You can select upload files here as an option. You need to create blob storage on Azure and then Azure AI Search. Once you select those two, you just need to give a unique index name here, such as call records docs. You need to select add vector search to this source and then select embedding model ADA. And we're good to go. We just need to drag and drop files and upload files. Next step for us is just choosing the search type. Here I'll choose vector keyword and then next. So I already ingested this data. I'll just quickly show you how it looks like actual Azure AI Search. Here's all the index documents available. And as you can see, the data is not in text or PDF anymore. It is just numbers, and we are making a similarity search more than the keyword or text search. So once our data is available, we just need to run the app. I'll right click to my message extension, Teams Toolkit, prepare app dependencies, and then select continue. Once my app is ready to run, I will just show you how this works as a message extension first, and then I'll show you the experience and Copilot and the responses. Okay, let's hit F5 or select DevTunnels and Microsoft Teams. So I will run this app on Microsoft Teams, and the first experience I just want to show you is what we are receiving in the message extension. I will include, add this app as a Teams app, Echo Groceries Call Center C#, and then I will test this out in the chat with Rabia. I'll type Echo and then select call center. I'll type any customer complaints. This will bring me the related documents. I'll select one. This will generate an adaptive card. We can get all the text. We can also get the PDF version from Azure AI Search, and you can download it and see it in the PDF version too. So let me quickly show you how things work behind the scenes. I'll just put a breakpoint and show you the flow. So again, I'll type echo, and we can type the same thing, any customer complaints. We hit the breakpoint, then let's go in semantic hybrid search. We create this search index client with our endpoint, and then we generate embeddings. To generate embeddings, we're using OpenAI client. And in OpenAI, we're actually using ADA model to create embeddings. Our text now is returning into a vector. So this embeddings we will send inside our search options, and response is just going to be our data, title, URL, and everything. So this is going to create our adaptive cards. And the next step for us is just testing this out in Copilot. Quickly, before we jump into the Copilot experience, I want to highlight that Copilot works with plugins. A quick summary how Copilot works with plugins. Copilot is actually UX with natural language input. Once our user puts a prompt, Copilot searches inside the relevant tools, and our plugin will be a part of the tool catalog. Once Copilot finds that this data can be related to our tool in the catalog, like Echo Groceries Call Center, it will pick the tool in our catalog and do some mapping in the intent and execute the tool. We will retrieve response from our tool, and then we will send the response in an adaptive card format or any format that Copilot produces behind the scenes. So in this case, once Copilot finds out that this question is about our catalog, we actually make the search inside Azure AI Search, retrieve our data, and send it back to Copilot. Let me show you lastly how this works in Copilot environment. So just make sure that you enable your plugin, and then we can ask, are there any complaints about Echo Groceries recently? So the same question, and Copilot comes up with top 3 complaints in our data. And the reason why it's 3, because I limited the response result with 3. And you can actually increase or decrease the number of results you want from Azure AI Search. But look at this, we can actually hover over at 1 and see the full adaptive card with the agent and client conversation. Same for 2, and same for the last one. So in this case, Copilot is actually not only giving me the summary of the complaints, but it also gives me the reference PDF files. You can just download them, open them as well. So finally, I just want to show you that we can also search specific orders, such as, can you share more information about order number 765432 at Echo Groceries? And Copilot can go and find the related order number within the document thanks to hybrid search. With hybrid search, we can get the exact information from Azure AI Search. And as you can see, we're returning the adaptive card right here. That's all from me today. And this sample is available in our sample gallery together with all the Copilot samples. This sample is just one of the awesome samples my team built, and I encourage you to go ahead and try out yourself. And if you have any issues, feel free to reach out. Thank you so much, Vesa. Over to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Ayça, on that one. Really, really cool stuff, and awesome sample. And again, available from the centralized sample gallery, making it super easy for everybody to consume that. Thank you for that one. Now, next on the demo queue, we have Marc, and we can see the slides. Marc, audio check.
Yep, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, all good.
Awesome.
Take it away.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. My name is Marc Windle. I'm a product manager at Microsoft, and today is another installment in the series that we're doing to talk a little bit about and introduce SharePoint Embedded. It's a product that is currently in public preview right now, and today I'm going to go into a little bit on how you can perform Office collaboration, file previews, and content discovery. And so with that, we'll get right into it. If you haven't yet, though, come across SharePoint Embedded, I'm just going to do a really quick recap of it. The short story here is that it is an API-only kind of headless version of SharePoint for your custom application. So it allows you to bring the power of M365 file experiences into your custom application. It creates dedicated partitions within your M365 tenant, and you get to bring a whole bunch of features and capabilities right into your app. This is what some of those capabilities are across 4 different buckets: content, AI, security, collaboration, and core storage. Today, I'm going to deep dive a little bit into the collaboration capabilities. So we'll show you how you can do access files with Office, like Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, both on desktop and Office for web. You get co-authoring and live presence capabilities, at mentioning, and more, as well as the ability to preview files. So with that, I'm going to get into it. I've got some slides, and then I'll get into some demos and show you how some of this stuff works. Now, for Office documents, I just want to kind of get into some of the tech on how that works. So you write a custom application. It's built on top of SharePoint Embedded, and you expose content to the end users of your custom application. And one of those types of content are Office documents. Now, you can direct your users to open up those documents in Office for web or Office desktop. Now, looking at that first section in Office for web, doing that is very straightforward. So if you interact with that drive item associated with the Office document via Microsoft Graph, you get the web URL property of that drive item, and you can direct your users to that either in a new browser tab or new browser window. So it's pretty straightforward, and the experience automatically adapts to read-only access if that user only has read-only access. You can also have users of your application open up those documents in Office Desktop, and there are 2 kind of entry points for that. They both kind of do the same thing under the hood. If they've already opened up that file within Office for web, then that existing experience that you can see on the right-hand side here, they can change to open up in desktop, and that's an option to them. If you'd like to, within your custom application, direct them to that, open that document directly in Office for Desktop, you can do that by constructing a client URL. There's, the schema of that URL. We don't need to kind of go over that in too much detail, but that is documented in our Learn documentation, and I'll paste a link to that in the chat, as well as there's an AK.ms link at the end of this presentation. So pretty straightforward. You get both options. That's Office. Now, for non-Office files, there's a built-in preview client that supports a wide range of file types. Now, all of the file types that are supported are listed in our documentation as well. But at a high level, it's PDFs, images, videos, and more. So you can render a preview of files directly in your custom application, right in your app's web experience. And that preview can be either showing up in an iframe, or again, you can open up in a new browser tab or window. Doing that is pretty straightforward, and then you'll see it in the demos a bit later, but you make the graph call. Again, all of the SharePoint Embedded interactions come from your app making calls to Microsoft Graph. You can make a call to the existing /preview endpoint on a drive item. So you make a post request there. There's the actual endpoint. And when you do that, you get, I think, a get or post URL back in the response from that, and you can direct users either to that or make that the href of an iframe. And so pretty straightforward for opening, previewing files, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. Now, a couple things I want to just kind of quickly discuss. These are features that are not quite yet available, but they will be soon. And one of those, the first of those, is controlling content discovery for content that is stored within SharePoint Embedded. And so the short story here is that your app gets to control whether content from SharePoint Embedded containers shows up in other M365 experiences. And I put a couple of screenshots there on the right just to give you an idea what I'm talking about. The first is in the Office desktop Word application. You can see you get a bunch of recommended and shared with me content in there. And then the second is office.com. And so you're probably all familiar with that stuff, but content, within OneDrive and SharePoint is going to show up in there by default. And you can also elect to have your app's content show up in those experiences, or you can opt out of it. Now, by default, that content will not show up, meaning, when you look at office.com or the home section of Office Desktop or Office Online, you're not going to see any of the content showing up in there. And so that's good if you're writing an app that you really want to lock down and secure. That would make it true that if you block that, your app's content will only be accessible via your app. But if you do decide to enable discovery, you can do that, and then content will show up just like we've shown here. So it's pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to highlight that application setting that you get to be able to control. The setting is not yet available. When it is available, it's coming very soon. You can access it via SharePoint Online PowerShell module to be able to control that setting at the container type level for your application. Similarly, there's a new sharing setting that's coming soon. It'll land around the same time. And for that, your app will be able to control who can share and add permissions to files. So by default, any user with write access to a file can share it to others. Now that user may have been shared that file, and that giving them write access to a particular file. And by default, that user will also be able to reshare to other users within the company. But you can enable a new setting called restricted sharing. And so when you do that, you enable restricted sharing. Only users that are part of a container's owner and manager roles can change file permissions. Now, if those roles don't make any sense to you, a couple weeks back, I covered how the permissions work on containers. So maybe you can find that on YouTube and check that session out. But the short story there is there are 4 permission roles on each container that your app can create and manage content within: reader, writer, owner, and manager. And if you enable restricted sharing, only the owner or manager will be able to control the permissions on individual files. And again, that new sharing setting is going to be controlled via the SPO PowerShell module. It's not available yet, but it's coming soon. Okay, so with that, I'm going to get into some demos. You can visit ak.ms/SBE docs to learn more about the stuff that I just talked about or what you see in these demos. First thing I'm going to do is actually open up Visual Studio Code. Now, a couple weeks ago, I introduced the Visual Studio Code extension that we have. So the SharePoint Embedded for Visual Studio Code extension allows you to kind of get started quickly with SharePoint Embedded. You can create free container types and set them up and export settings to use with our Postman collection, and really easily get started with the sample application, so you can get a handle on how all of this works. The reason I'm showing you this is I'm going to show you our sample app again. If you don't have this running on your local machine, you haven't checked it out, you can just install the SharePoint Embedded for Visual Studio Code extension, get it running, set up a free container type, and then load the sample app. Once you click that, the sample app can load. Now, I already did that. I have the sample app running in the background, so I'm going to actually hop over into a browser window where I have the sample app running. Let's see if I can actually show that window. There we go. Hopefully that's showing up. And so I've got this app running. I visited, it's just on localhost running on my local machine. And I have, there's a few containers in here. I have this content demo container. We looked at it. We looked at these containers a few weeks ago. And in here, I've got some files. And what I wanted to really just quickly show you is how, some of these kind of opening Office documents and previewing files experiences within here. It's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's exactly as you'd expect. I'm going to click on this PowerPoint document. All that is doing under the hood is the sample app code directs or opens up a new browser tab to the web URL property of that drive item. Very simple. You can see it loads really quickly, and we're opening up Office Online here, and I can browse and edit and co-author and stuff like that in PowerPoint Online. Similarly, you can open up files for in Excel. So here's an Excel file. You get full fidelity rendering. It's just all of the stuff you come to expect, working with Office documents in OneDrive and SharePoint, your users will be able to do here. I'll open up this add slogans document, and then same thing. We've got a Word Online file here. The one thing I want to highlight here is just some of the, collaboration and co-authoring capabilities. So in here, I have another user that has this document open, Megan Bowen, and actually I can show you what that looks like. So I've got another browser window open with Megan already logged in. So here we go. We're both kind of co-authoring here. I can, on the left side, bolded, you can see we've got everything that you've come to expect with co-authoring and collaboration experiences within the Office clients. And you also have the ability to, @mention folks, so I can @mention Megan, and that's going to, send her a notification and stuff like that. So all of that works as you'd expect. And then the last thing I'll share is just opening up this in Office Desktop, like I showed you. So if you just go like this, you can open up this in Office Desktop. And I happen to be signed in already on my local machine to this. So this is going to open up that file in Word Desktop. So pretty straightforward there. And again, you get all of that collaborating capability here. So that's it for kind of Office. Pretty straightforward, and it works as you'd expect. But again, all of that comes from your custom application, which is pretty cool. I'm going to open up this media folder and just show you some of the previewing capabilities that you get. And again, I'm going to show this in this sample app. All of the previews open up in a new browser tab, but you can embed it in an iframe and really kind of embed that within your custom application. Here's a PDF. So that generates a preview link, and then it navigates to that link in a new browser tab. Here we go. So here's a PDF rendering in full fidelity within your custom application. You can also render 3D models in there. Again, I mentioned It supports many different file types, so we can like browse around 3D models, and there's a whole bunch of file types that's supported. So pretty cool if you have a custom application that works with that type of content, you can embed it directly in your custom app. Also streaming video, which is pretty cool. So all the transcoding and streaming is just taken care of for you. So here I'm streaming a video directly from my SharePoint embedded container, and it just works. You can embed this client directly in your application and have video in it as well. And then images, of course. So I'll open up this image, and then that's kind of mainly it for the demos, but this image is special. It's one last plug for the SharePoint Embedded Developer Summit that we're hosting March 26th and 27th. This is going to be an in-person event. And during this 2-day event, you'll have an opportunity to get hands-on with SharePoint Embedded, work with engineers and product owners that are all, part of the product group for SharePoint Embedded. So if that's interest of you, and you want to start working with SharePoint Embedded, this will really jumpstart that capability. If you're interested, you can register at ak.ms/sbe-summit. Registration actually closes tomorrow. There's only 10 spots left, and so I highly recommend you do that if you're interested, and we'll let you know by March 1st if you're in. That's it for me. Thanks for the time today, and we'll see you next week, I think, to talk a little bit about billing experiences with SharePoint Embedded and how you can set that up.
Excellent. Thank you, Mark, on that one. Really, really awesome. And again, don't miss out that exclusive opportunity on SharePoint Embedded Summit. So we'll, and actually I saw the link already in the chat for those who can access the chat. We'll share that one in social media as well and all of the notes. But the deadline for signing up is tomorrow, and there are only 10 seats left on there. Now, let's then move to the next demo slot within the call, which is Paolo. And Paolo is going to continue this journey related on Copilot Studio usage within the Microsoft 365. Paolo, we can see the screen. Take it away.
Yes. Thank you, Vesa, and welcome everyone. Today we keep on talking about how we can use custom Copilot built with Microsoft Copilot Studio. And I'm going to show you how you can use a bit of SharePoint framework to host a custom Copilot in a SharePoint online site. So, like always, let me share a bit of a context, and then we will move to the demo environment. So, we have already seen in the previous episode that we can easily build a custom Copilot on top of content that we have in SharePoint Online, like document in a document library, for example. But it would be really nice to being able to have access to the custom Copilot, not only from the Teams chat, for example, but also from the UI of the SharePoint Online site where we have the content, so that rather than relying on the regular search capability, which is always really cool and powerful, we can also rely on a chatbot based on the custom Copilot to provide a prompt to search for content inside our documents. So how can we do that? Let me show you. So first of all, this is the document library, an hypothetical HR site that we've been already using in the previous demos in this series. And here we have a bunch of documents about HR. We have in Microsoft Copilot Studio a custom Copilot that we have built in the previous weeks, and you can have a look to the previous videos if you want to dig into it. And here we have specifically an HR Copilot demo that we created, through which we can query our documents and search inside the content of our documents using single sign-on and all the capabilities that allow the end user to have a smooth user experience. And of course, we can do that from Teams, as I was telling you. So I can say, for example, I don't know, something like, how can I improve my career? And through the bot, I can get an answer based on the content, the actual content that I have in my documents. But I also want to being able to make the same kind of queries using an integrated chatbot integrated with the SharePoint Online UI. So this is my HR site. And as you can see here, I have a custom Copilot button that I can select. And by selecting this button, I will be able to use a dialog through which I can start talking with single sign-on, as you can see. So I already have my current user authenticated against the custom Copilot. I can start providing prompt to this Copilot. So for example, how can we hire new employees or stuff like that? Okay, so I can use it, and it is fully integrated with the UI of SharePoint Online. So if we are fully focused on SharePoint Online, we don't need to switch to Teams, but we can stay in SharePoint Online and keep on working using Copilot and all the content that we have. It is now working, and I will see my answer. And here it is with all of the reference to the document. Now, what we are using here to achieve this goal is a sample solution that Microsoft provided under the Microsoft organization in the Copilot Studio samples repository, and specifically this is the SharePoint single sign-on component. In this component, which is a SharePoint framework component, we have a solution that you can download from the GitHub repository. You can slightly customize from a settings point of view, and then you can deploy on your own custom tenant to have the solution up and running in your environment. So step by step, let's see what we need to do to achieve this goal. And first of all, I will switch to the SharePoint framework solution to give you an idea of what we have available. So let me go here, and this is my SharePoint framework solution. As you can see in the package.json file, I have a SharePoint framework 1.18 solution, so almost the latest one that we have. And what is interesting is that it is also based on the bot framework web chat package, which is a dependency installed in this solution. So we are going to rely on this web chat component to have the actual rendering of the UI of the chatbot. Then we have an application customizer, which is used to provide to the end user the bottom bar with the button you can click. Of course, you can customize it as you want. You can create your own solution. You can just take inspiration from this sample solution. In the application customizer, we are simply going to render in the placeholder for the bottom section of the screen, we are going to render a component, a React component, which is this chatbot component. The chatbot component is a React component available in the sample solution, which relies on a PVA chatbot dialog, where we have the actual code hosting the web chat bot framework component. And in fact, if we look at this PVA chatbot dialog, it is a functional component in React. We have a bunch of settings, and we have all of the plumbing to handle the rendering of the chatbot dialog connected to a specific instance of a bot built in Copilot Studio. And if we look at it, we can see all of the different options that can be handled, like the greeting or other options to manage the sign-in of the user and stuff like that. So here we have all of the logic to render and to handle the rendering of the chatbot. You can just reuse this code without the need to dig into it. But of course, if you want, you can dig into it a little bit more. Now, once you have downloaded the solution, you have built the solution, and eventually you will need to slightly adjust something like some of the ESLint rules and stuff like that to make it build and make it ready to go. You can then configure the solution in order to have in the deployment section, in the XML file of the feature framework of SharePoint to do the actual deployment, to have some of the settings which will rely on the URL of the bot that you want to consume and stuff like that. In order to do that, you can, of course, handle manually the settings in the XML file, which is one option that you have. But this solution also provides you with a Python file that you can run the very first time that you create and you package the solution. And running this Python file, you can simply provide all of the settings. That done, we need to see what they are and how you can build them. So, and just for the sake of completeness, I'm also provided, and I'm going to make a pull request for this solution, a PowerShell script with PnP PowerShell, which does almost the same using PnP PowerShell instead of Python. The settings that we need to use are the settings of an application that we need to register in Entra ID to make it possible to consume, securely consume with single sign-on, the bot and the custom Copilot that we created with Copilot Studio from within the SharePoint framework custom solution. So step by step, let's go through all of the settings that we need to define and all of the steps that we need to accomplish. So first of all, I created a new site. So I'm going to deploy this solution onto this target site. In this target site, once you have uploaded in the app catalog of your target tenant the SPPKG of your solution, you can then go to any site of your choice. And if you go under site contents, you will be able to add a new application. And you can rely on an application from your organization, which will be this PVA stands for Power Virtual Agents, which was the former name of Microsoft Cloud Studio, Copilot Studio, sorry. And now that the solution has been added, we can go back and we can start configuring the solution. As you will see by refreshing this page, I will already have the button, but right now the button is not working because I need to do some additional steps. First of all, in order to consume my custom Copilot, I will need to go to Entra ID and register a new application. So let's do that. I will call my application HR Copilot Demo Canvas, because this will be the Canvas application I'm going to use. If you want to use it on multiple tenants, you can define it as a multi-tenant application. And then once it has been registered, you will need to take into account the ID of your application, which you will need to use as one of the settings in the application that you are going to activate on SharePoint Online through SharePoint Framework. And then you will have to go to the authentication section, and you can configure a platform, which has to be a single page application in this scenario, because it will work like a mobile application, the chatbot. Here in the redirect URI, you will have to specify the URL of the home page of your site so that you will start the authentication from the home page of your site. And let's do that. And we need to enable that we want to use off-to-F support for access tokens and ID tokens. Once you have done that, you also need to go under the API permission section. And in order to have support for single sign-on for your custom chatbot, you have to add a permission, which has to be a permission for an application that it is available in your organization. Let me search for the HR Copilot. And if you remember, or if you have a look to the previous episode, we created a reader application, which is the one we use to have the actual single sign-on inside the Teams. Well, we can use the same application, and we can allow this Canvas application to have the custom permission scope in order to consume that specific reader application so that we can get access to the custom Copilot. And once you have done that, if you select this permission, you should copy the permission scope with the whole application ID, because it will become useful pretty soon. You also need to remember to grant the permissions for this application. So once you have done that, you can go back again to the PowerShell script, for example, and you can just paste the custom scope. One last thing that you need to do is to go to your custom Copilot, and if you open the settings and you go to channels, by opening the mobile app channel, you can copy the endpoint for your application. By using this endpoint for this custom Copilot and pasting the value right here in the bot URL, you will then be able to target your specific site, providing the URL of the bot that you want to target, a bit of descriptions like the name of the bot in the dialog and the name on the button that you want to select, the custom scope and the ID, and the authority, which is the loginmicrosoft.online.com/common in this case, because this is a multi-tenant registered application. So I can configure all of these settings, all of this variable. I can connect to my target environment, and I will be able to get a reference to the custom application customizer that I defined right before, so that we can see that in that one, we have a set of properties available. And what we can do, we can update the properties for that application. So let's do run selection. And we can then update and do the invoke PNP query. And once we have done that, we then will be able to run the solution and being able to see the exactly the experience that we've seen before. So we can open the dialog by clicking on the custom Copilot button. We can see the web chat showing up, and we can have the interaction inside the UI of SharePoint Online. Just as a recap, you have a step-by-step list of tasks to accomplish to configure this kind of solution in your own environment. And for your convenience, a bunch of useful links, including the very first one, which is the announcement from Microsoft about the availability of this sample solution. Then the GitHub repository where you can find the solution, and a couple of links about how the security and the authentication work under the cover. And that's it for me too, Vesa. So back to you. Thank you.
Excellent, Paolo. Before you stop sharing, just to recap on, this is just the one reference sample solution for SPFx. You can implement that UX in SharePoint site any way you want. So, but this is provided by Microsoft as an reference sample. There's multiple ways of exposing that chat, or you can modify the solution based on your needs as well. So it's not a modal dialogue or so on. So
it is up to you as a developer. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cool. We are hitting the hour in any second now. So thank you, Ayça. Thank you, Marc. Thank you, Paolo. Really awesome set of demos today, once again. Next week, we have again full call. We will start with Gary and Waldek on extended Copilot for Microsoft 365 Teams Toolkit connector sample. Marc Windle is going to come back related on billing experiences in SharePoint Embedded. So how does the costing actually works? And then Carter Gilliam is going to talk about building your custom Copilot on Teams with Teams AI library. So a pro development storyline and what does the Teams AI library actually provides as an additional capability within here. So that's on next Tuesday. Before that call and among the other calls, we also have our Discord server. This is growing incredibly fast. So we have more than 1,700 members already in the server, helping each other with the questions and having an active engagement within the community. So that's really, really cool to see. We're always also looking for feedback related on this course. So we would love to have you a few minutes of time answering on this form. That will help us on keep these calls alive in the future as well. Always interested about what works, what doesn't work, and what's the overall feelings within the course. But again, just to recap, recording will be available within 24 hours at the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform Community YouTube channel. Subscribe there today so you'll know whenever the new material is available. You can follow us on Twitter, and the next community call is March 5th. And all of the calls at AKMS Community and calls. But that's it for now. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you for your time. Let's stay in touch. Bye-bye.